thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is Kip Winger, and you're listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vegas.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rock star Robbie Vegas with another episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast. Thank you for joining me as always. Today we have Joey Cassata on the show, and we're bringing the rock and roll. He's the drummer of ZO2, the creator of Z-Rock, and we're even going to get into some wrestling with Joey Licious. So our rock and roll and wrestling crowd are both going to be happy with this one today. So before we get Joey on the phone, as always, I need you guys to know that today's episode is sponsored by Relief Factor. Pain from everyday living, exercise, or just getting older is one of the leading causes of trips to the doctor and sleepless nights. It interferes with daily activities and can even keep us from spending time with the people we love. If you have everyday pain, it stands to reason you need something you can feel comfortable with taking every day. That's why doctors invented 100% drug-free Relief Factor. Now tens of thousands of customers are using Relief Factor every day to become mostly or completely pain-free. 100% drug-free Relief Factor features 4 key ingredients that each work on a different metabolic pathway to support your body's natural healing processes to respond to pain and inflammation. Now you can try Relief Factor too. The 3-week quick start, retail price of almost $70, is now available to our listeners for just $19.95. Head to the link in our show notes to find out more. Start your journey to better health and less pain today with Relief Factor. Now, let's not waste any more time and let's get this rock and roll party started.
Hey guys, I'm Ashers.
And I'm Pat O.
And every Wednesday we talk weird.
It's a weekly podcast bringing you the latest in
cryptozoology,
ufology,
conspiracies,
the occult,
and all the latest in Fortean news. Everything from the ooky to the spooky.
It's like Coast to Coast AM for people who fuck.
Search for On Wednesdays We Talk Weird anywhere you get podcasts. See you guys next Wednesday.
Joey, man, I gotta tell you, I'm super excited to have you on the show. Thank you for doing it, man.
Dude, thanks so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
This is going to be a lot of fun for me because I first saw you opening up for Kiss and Poison, and I think it was 2004.
Yes. Oh, my God. The Rock the Nation tour. Yeah, that was so... a little backstory on me. I'm from the band ZO2. We toured with Kiss, like you just mentioned, on the Rock the Nation tour. That was actually our first big tour. We had only been together as a band for less than a year. And we were an independent band. We didn't have a record label. We had no backing. We had literally nothing. But we self-funded our own record. And, you know, we got it to Paul Stanley, who just happened to love the record. And they had an opening slot on their tour because Brides of Destruction, Nikki Sixx's band, had just either pulled off or got thrown off, depending on the story you hear. And Paul offered us the entire summer with them. We did 3.5 months with Kiss.
That's insane. And as like somebody who's a giant Kiss and Poison fan, I can't even imagine what that felt like to get that news.
I mean, again, anyone who knows me, Kiss is my life. You know, I grew up with Kiss. I saw Kiss at Madison Square Garden when I was 5 years old on the Dynasty tour, and it changed my life. From that moment on, I got my first drum set that Christmas. And, I've been playing drums ever since, to every Kiss record, every live DVD, Animalized Live Uncensored, anything you can think of. I worshipped Kiss, throughout the 80s. And as I pursued my own musical career, the dream was, of course, either become the drummer in Kiss one day or get to tour with Kiss. And, luckily one of those happened.
Wow, that's incredible, man. So how old were you when you actually started playing the drums then?
I was just 5 years old.
You're kidding.
Like I said, I saw Kiss. I was 5 years old. I had no idea what Kiss even was. Went to Madison Square Garden with my parents and my older brother, who really was the one why we went to see Kiss. Came home, completely mesmerized, life-changing moment. Asked for drums that Christmas because when I saw Peter Criss's drum set rise into the rafters, and all the fireworks going off around him, there was nothing else I would have ever wanted to do in the rest of my life. So asked for drums that Christmas, started banging around like any 5-year-old would. Yeah, and then, really got serious, as, I got a little older, maybe 7 or 8.
That's incredible, man. Now, Kiss was the one that kickstarted that for you, but what were some other inspirations for you growing up besides Kiss?
So music-wise, I grew up obviously in the 80s, so I was a big hair metal guy, a big, Striper and Bon Jovi and all of that stuff. Big fan of all of those bands. And luckily, I've got to tour and play with many of those bands throughout the years. All phenomenal guys. Big Mr. Big fan. I'm currently playing with Eric Martin from Mr. Big. I'm in a solo band right now. We have some shows this summer, which is a lot of fun. But the other big impact of my life, and I know you know this as well, was wrestling.
Yes.
And, I saw Kiss at Madison Square Garden when I was 5. 4 years later, I saw Hulk Hogan win the title for the very first time at Madison Square Garden against the Iron Sheik. And that moment, just like Kiss, altered my life forever. And those two moments right there really shaped who I am today and, the next 30 years.
I have an interesting story for you real quick since we're already talking about wrestling and ZO2. I don't know if Joe told you, but I'm a professional wrestler. And,
yes.
Well, when I first turned heel after being face for like 4 or 5 years, my entrance music was Temptation from ZO2.
Incredible. I did not know that.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me, and I couldn't wait to use it, and I specifically saved it for that moment. And as soon as they told me I was turning, I was like, I'm changing my music. And I sent them that song.
Please send me a clip of you entering to that. I would love to see it.
Absolutely. As soon as we're done here, I will send you one.
Incredible. Honored. Absolutely honored for those two worlds to clash like that. It's all full circle, my friend.
Oh, yeah. And, I was so blown away by you guys when I saw that tour. And much like, the people that I went with, we didn't know who was opening up. We just knew Kiss and Poison. And I saw you guys play, and I immediately went straight to the merch stand, bought the CD, and actually met you and had you sign it, and I still have it.
And that was really one of the greatest things about that tour, too. We were just, these bright-eyed kids on this tour, barely making enough money to live. And the thing we loved, maybe even more than playing every night, was running into the crowd after our set, meeting all the fans, signing autographs, going to the merch stand, seeing our merch side by side with Kisses every night was, it was mind-boggling for us. So we sucked in every moment we could. We met every person we could. We talked to every person we could, signed every autograph we could. We lived every moment to the fullest.
And staying in that same vein with ZO2, how did ZO2 even form? Where did that all come from?
So again, everything in my life reverts back to Kiss or wrestling. So in this instance, I was in a Kiss cover band right before ZO2 called Kiss Nation, and we were actually a pretty big Kiss cover band. We had a documentary on VH1. It actually never officially aired on VH1 called Mock Rock, about the band, where VH1 followed us around for a couple of months and filmed everything we did. That episode, which never aired, is actually on my YouTube channel. If you type in VH1 Mock Rock Kiss Nation, it'll come up. It's a 30-minute episode all about the Kiss Nation band. I played Eric Carr in that band, and it just so happens the Paul Stanley in that band was Paulie Z from ZO2, and that's how we met.
That's awesome. So he was a huge Kiss fan too, so that had to be cool for you guys to experience that together.
All three of us. Again, they were and still are our idols. Everything we do, we mimic them in every fashion of life. And to, like I said, to get to tour, if I would have ever chosen one band to ever tour with, that's the band. Same with Paulie, same with David.
Wow. But you opened up for a lot of great acts, too. I know Alice Cooper and Twisted Sister come to mind. I know you played with them, and you said you're a fan of the hair bands, too, so that had to be wild.
Oh, absolutely. Again, people always say, oh, I wish ZO2 was bigger, and I wish this and that. We reached the perfect level of success for me. I got to tour with every single band that I ever loved growing up, from Cinderella to Poison to Stryper to Kiss to Twisted Sister. Everyone you can possibly think of, we toured and became not only, peers with, but friends with most of these bands. I still in touch with Gene today and stuff like that. And, to have those memories and then, pivoting after, people always say, oh, we can't believe you didn't get a giant record deal from that Kiss tour and so on and so forth. My answer was always, we got something way bigger than a record deal and way harder to get. ZO2 had their own television show.
I did not know that.
And that's incredible that you didn't know, if you're a big ZO2 fan. So I'll give you a little backstory. So we were really kids musicians during the day. And even while we were playing with Kiss, to pay the bills for that tour and to fund that record, we were kids musicians. We would play kids' birthday parties and bar mitzvahs and communions and confirmations and whatever you could do to entertain children. And that was our day job, the three of us.
Wait,
and at night,
not to cut you off, but is that Z-Rock?
Yes, that's Z-Rock.
So that was true? That was a real thing?
That was fully based on our lives.
I did not know that. I thought that was something that you invented.
Absolutely not. This Z-Rock was completely... So the way we got Z-Rock, we were playing a kid's birthday party. And, we're dressed like ZO2, we're dressed like rockers, we're not dressed like the Wiggles or Barney or anything. And a father comes over to us and is like, hey, what are you guys doing here? You look like, like Aerosmith. Why are you playing this kid's birthday party? So we said to him, well, this is just our day gig. We actually have a rock band called ZO2, and we just toured with Kiss. We're playing BB King's in Times Square tomorrow night. You should come check us out. And we're not thinking anything of it. We just figured, another body in the stands. We would try to promote the show any way we can. It turns out this guy was an agent at William Morris, which is one of the biggest talent agencies in the country. And he came to the show, fell in love with us, couldn't believe, the story that he just saw us play Little Timmy's birthday party the day before, and is seeing us at BB King's at a sold-out show in the middle of Times Square, rocking out, with girls and everyone else, going crazy in the audience. And we were trying to get more tours off of him, and he said, "Well, listen, I'm in the TV division. I can't get you on a tour." So we said to him, "Well, why don't we do a television show?"
Wow!
Sure enough, obviously I'm paraphrasing everything. Everything takes time. So, looking and shopping and writing and doing all this other stuff. 2.5 years later, Z-Rock was born.
Wow. See, I knew about Z-Rock, but I thought it was just like a brainchild that you came up with for a television show. I didn't know that it was like the real deal.
100% based on our real lives. Obviously, we're playing characters in the show. Everything is exaggerated. Where, the humor and the situations are all exaggerated, but it's all based on a real life, which is kids band by day, rock band by night.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, just to backtrack just a little bit, are there any bands that were on your list of people to play with or tour with or whatever that you still are waiting to check off, or did you actually hit all of them?
That's a great question. I never even thought of that. Maybe a band, I think maybe one of the only bands I feel like I never got to meet or tour with was Bon Jovi, which I was a big Bon Jovi fan. Mm-hmm. Never got to play with them. Just about everyone else on my bucket list, I got a chance to play with all my favorite bands. Obviously, the bands that aren't around anymore, like the Beatles and Zeppelin and all that stuff, I would have loved to meet or play with. But, from guys in AC/DC and, obviously Kiss is our biggest influence ever. Stone Temple Pilots, throughout the years, we really got to play with just about everyone, whether it's a one-on-one show, whether it's a tour, or whether it's a big festival. We basically got to play with everybody.
And that, for you, even includes, you were a member of TSO, right?
Correct. So David was the touring bass player for David, the bass player in ZO2, was the touring bass player in TSO for 15 years. Unfortunately, David passed a couple years ago in a tragic car wreck, and it was, we still haven't really recovered from it. We have actually a fundraiser for him this Sunday. I'm not sure when this airs, but this Sunday will be the 4th annual David Z fundraiser, a live stream on Facebook. Guests galore. I'll send you the link and everything. Maybe you can share it. But
yes, please.
he was the touring bass player for TSO, and I've been the backup drummer for TSO for almost 17 years now. It actually, members of TSO and management saw me on the KISS tour, loved me, and I've been playing with them ever since. I'm basically on call with them. I rehearse with them all year, play with them, and then if they need me, I go out and play. I've never actually played a show with them. Fortunately and unfortunately, they haven't needed me, but I've been on call for every year for about 17 years now. Wow,
okay. And now, I could have this next part wrong, but you are also on Broadway too, right?
Yes, so again, after ZO2, we kind of we took a little break and went our separate ways. Paulie moved out to LA. I had started a family. I have 2 kids now. I wanted to do something a little more local rather than touring and doing all of that stuff anymore. So I started pursuing Broadway. And anyone who's ever tried to pursue being a pit musician or a musician on Broadway knows the task that is. And it's a very hard industry to break into. Luckily, one of the members of the Trans-Siberian backup band, his name was Or Matias, was musical director of an upstart show called The Great Comet of 1812. And he asked me to be the drummer. I tried out, got the gig, did almost 5 years with them on Broadway. Josh Groban was the star of the show. Time of my life. It was such a different experience than touring, but just as fulfilling. Being able to, play every day in front of a sold-out crowd and great audience, and then get to go home and sleep in your bed every night was something that I might have even taken for granted while I was doing it.
It's amazing to me because just talking to you for the last 15 minutes, I'm like, man, this guy has got to be one of the busiest people I've ever heard. Like, you've just been able to do everything and all over the place, and right down to a TV show, which brings me to Wrestling with Joey Licious.
Yes, so, my new, not-so-new venture. So after Z-Rock, my acting bug was really kicking in. I enjoyed Z-Rock so much that, I actually tried to get some acting gigs in other roles and movies and so on and so forth. But it's a cutthroat world out there. So instead of just going on random auditions or being an extra in little parts, which I wasn't really into doing, I had my own TV show. I couldn't really go backwards at that point. I decided to write my own television show, which is what Wrestling with Joey Licious is. And it really is also based on my real life. It's almost like a what if I didn't pursue drums to the full extent and I went the wrestling route instead when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's all about me growing up as a wannabe wrestler, trying to make it into the big time, but I'm on the high school wrestling circuit, and I'm playing in gymnasiums and church backyards in front of 20 people and second graders and nuns, and I never made it as a wrestler. And I'm sure you've gone through the struggles as a wrestler yourself.
Oh yeah,
you're playing in front of these small auditoriums, and that's really what the show is about. But the catch to the show is, in my mind, these wrestling legends appear to me in my imagination, and they're giving me advice to try to help me with my career. Of course, the advice always backfires, and it leaves me, unconscious in front of, the wrong people at the wrong time. And, when I started the show, I started reaching out to all the wrestlers that I grew up loving. Roddy Piper's on the show, Jimmy Snuka, Mick Foley, the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, Tito Santana. We just filmed an episode with Jake the Snake Roberts, which will be available on Amazon Prime next month. So I've gotten to fulfill my wrestling dreams without actually becoming a wrestler.
That's so mind-blowing to me, too, and I love it. And I also love in your show that you're always battling with your mother about how she wants you to quit this stupid wrestling thing. And I gotta say, like, being an independent wrestler, how many family members or people are like, how long are you gonna do this for? And I saw that and I was like, if that's not the fucking truth.
Yeah, and the show, right now we're just filming short episodes. They're 5-minute episodes. There's 6 on Amazon Prime available right now. If you have Amazon Prime, you can stream them for free. If you don't have Amazon Prime, they're on YouTube as well. But if you can stream them on Prime, it gives me some viewership on Prime. The Jake the Snake episode will be available next month on Amazon Prime. But the ultimate goal is really to film full episodes of Wrestling with Joey Licious. The storyline is written. The seasons are totally scripted out already. We're ready to go. We're shopping it to network. Anyone out there listening, we're looking for a deal. Check us out on Amazon Prime. You'll love it. I really think it's what the wrestling world is wanting right now. All of these 80s and 90s wrestlers are so talented at what they do. Maybe they can't wrestle anymore because they're older and they have bad hips or bad knees or bad backs or whatever it is, but they are electric when the camera is on. They're funny, they're smart, they're quick. So to give them an outlet like Wrestling with Joey Licious to show their talent and their superstardom still is just the perfect way to showcase these wrestlers in a comedic way without having them actually take bumps.
And who would you say of the people that you listed that you've worked with for your show was like the easiest to work with and like the most naturally funny person that you had on?
So believe it or not, all of these wrestlers that I've been working with, you never know until they're on set how they're going to be. Are they going to be nice? Are they going to be funny? I always send them a script first, and then we kind of go back and forth. They have to approve the script, and, we talk through it to make sure they're okay with it. And then, we're improvising on set, but, it takes a lot to improvise comedy quickly on set like that. So every wrestler was actually really good at doing all of that because they're so quick and used to being on camera doing promos. All of them were great. But some of the highlights, a guy like, when I did our episode with Roddy Piper, he was so funny and so quick. He was a little hesitant to understand what we were trying to do at first, the world, and how it was an exaggerated version of himself. And then once he got the hang of it, he really went all for it. And it's really one of my favorite episodes.
That's awesome. I love Roddy too, so that had to be really cool.
And even a guy like Mick Foley, I write the script out. My partner and I, we script everything out. We script the dialogue. We script the scenes. But we let these guys have some free reign. And Mick, because he was so funny and so quick on set, he added so much to the dialogue. There's a scene where I tell Mick how milk hurts my tummy because I'm lactose intolerant.
Yes.
and Mick says, well, in the script it says, he yells at me, why don't you drink almond milk or something like that? And that was really the extent of it. We went a little further. But Mick added in the few lines of, I said, well, how do you make milk from almonds? And Mick added this line in which we had to take about 4 or 5 times because the crew kept erupting with laughter. He's like, well, Joey, almonds don't have nipples. So, and, every time he would say it, the crew would erupt, I would laugh, we would have to retake it, but he was so funny with every take in a good way, but we had to keep redoing stuff because he was so funny it would ruin the take.
Now, going forward with all the filming for Wrestling with Joey Licious, are you going to be going to like different independent wrestling shows and doing stuff at like events, do you think?
I really do think that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to obviously have this become a full-length show, whether Amazon picks it up or Netflix or somewhere that's willing to take a chance on a show like this. And I do believe we will try to utilize the independent scene because Joey Licious is part of the independent scene. Very low on the independent scene on that rung of the wrestling ladder, but he's someone that, that works the indies even on a low level. So I think to really capture the independent scene, we're going to need an indie promotion to work with us, and we're going to start filming with them. And then, of course, I will bring in the legends that have already signed up. We have guys on hold like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, everyone, from anyone you can imagine. All of these guys are on board with the show. They're just waiting for the right deal to be in place for us to catapult this to the next level.
That's amazing. Now, can I tell you a quick Jake the Snake story from when I was on a show and Jake was doing an appearance?
Absolutely.
So I walk up and I introduce myself. I'm very respectful, and he's talking to me. He's a great guy, as I'm sure you know, because you just worked with him. And he says to me, so what do you think, kid? Are you going to the WWE? And I go, absolutely, sir. Just, being polite. And he goes, yeah, well, they'll sell anybody a ticket.
Very. Yeah, again, even a guy like Jake. I met Jake. I was on the Jericho cruise last year, And I met Jake on there, and I was talking to him about the show, and that's how I kind of got him on my show when we just filmed recently. He's so funny. I mean, we filmed, not to give the whole episode away, but again, like I said, this will be available on Amazon Prime next month. But we did a little throwback to one of my favorite movies of all time, Saturday Night Fever.
With Jake?
We filmed with Jake. We filmed underneath the Verrazano Bridge, just like Travolta and his girlfriend filmed. We did the same bench, the same view. We even do some of the same lines. And Jake, the whole day, is literally sitting on that bench. He's so funny on camera, but even off camera, everyone walking by, he's making a comment. He's making fun of this guy, or he's commenting about this girl, or all day long we were just erupting. And that just goes to show you what I was saying before, how all of these wrestlers from the 80s and 90s who can't really work anymore and don't have a place to showcase their talents, they're so good in front of a camera. They're always on. They're used to being in front of big crowds. And, a show like Joey Licious, I really believe is going to put them back into the spotlight where they belong.
I mean, I agree, and I'm a fan of the show, and I really love it. And I've sent I found the trailer on YouTube, and I was sending it to all my wrestling buddies, and I was like, guys, if you have Prime, check this show out. And everybody who did check it out was like, this guy's hilarious.
So I am just curious. So did they enjoy it?
Yes, absolutely. I sent it to some of my so my home fed is in Rochester, New York. And that's like my main always have to be at those shows spot. And I sent it to some of those guys up there, and they were like, he nailed it. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. And, that coming from you and guys that are in the industry is so important, because I've never been a wrestler. I've taken a few bumps just practicing here and there and goofing around, but I've never been a pro wrestler, never had a match. Always a dream of mine. But it is something that when we do start full-length filming of this show, I want to make sure that we capture the indie scene as best as we can, because I really believe it's something. I know the movie The Wrestler captures it a little bit. It's something, but I want to show the fun comedy version of The Wrestler. I don't want to show the gloom and doom. I want to show the comedy version, but the struggle also, but the fun version of it, like you said, of me arguing with my mom about getting a real job and grow up, stop taking chair hits to the head. You're 40 years old. What are you doing? Stuff like that is what I really want to showcase. So when I hear guys like you who are on the scene and have been in the scene, enjoying kind of what we're trying to get across, it really means the world to me. Thank you. Oh
yeah, man, of course. And I've been in creeping up on 11 years now as an indie wrestler, and I think that's what drew me in, because I was laughing, but I was like, it's also accurate.
Amazing. Again, and obviously, just like Z-Rock, it's a fictitious world. It's not going to be so realistic that everything looks perfect, but the idea is to capture the mood of that wrestling scene and the mood of a struggling indie wrestler coming up, but who's also obviously a mental case, because he has these 80s wrestlers appearing to him in his imagination.
Yeah, right. Now, do you still keep up with the current product of WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor and all that stuff?
I did for a very long time. Still a big wrestling fan. Believe it or not, COVID, ever since the crowd left, the whole thing with the Thunderdome and no crowds, it's been very hard for me to keep watching the product. The only product, you might laugh at this, that I'm currently immersed in, never miss an episode, is NWA Power on Fight TV.
Yeah.
So, because I'm such an old school 80s wrestling guy, and I was a big NWA fan back in the day. Of course, I grew up with WWF in New York, but, seeing that old school studio wrestling vibe that NWA and Billy Corgan are doing, I'm absolutely in love with it. Never miss an episode. Love everything they're doing. WWE has so much content. It's so hard to keep up on it. There's so many hours of TV to watch. I did it for a long time, but once COVID hit, I really got out of it. AEW, I'm also, I'm on and off with. I'm really good friends with Chris Jericho. He was just actually on my podcast this week. It'll be airing next week. I just did the interview with him yesterday. Mm-hmm. Good friends, text all the time. Actually helped him with his new book that just came out, the complete list of Jericho, where he lists all his matches.
Yeah.
He will be eventually part of Wrestling with Joey Licious when we get it up and running. But AEW is definitely something that I'm more interested right now in than WWE. WWE, it's a hard watch for me right now. What about you?
So I still keep up with most of what WWE's doing. Like, I always watch Raw. I may not watch it when it's live. I'll DVR it so that, no offense to some people, but I skim through some of it. But
dude, that's what I do. I DVR every wrestling program. I'll DVR SmackDown, NXT, Raw, and what I find myself doing is now, unfortunately, I literally have it on 3 times fast forward almost the whole way through. I don't even stop it anymore.
Yeah, it's rough, and it's been hard to keep up because I do want to watch a little bit of everything. So I do watch NWA Power, and I try to keep up on AEW. And if I don't, I try to avoid spoilers for like 2 weeks until I can watch the 2 DVR episodes that I have.
Right.
And, and Ring of Honor I keep up on, and Vita Von Star's over there, and she's killing it. And so I try to see what she's doing. And it's just a whole, and I still try to keep up with my indie brothers, like a lot of us haven't been able to wrestle, at least as frequently. So whenever they do something or we get new matches put on independent wrestling TV, I'm like, well, I got to watch those. So it comes down to like time.
To keep up with, yeah. There's, I never thought I would say there's too much wrestling out there, but there's too much wrestling out there.
Yeah, right. It's funny, too, that you brought up Chris Jericho, because we talk about Chris Jericho on this podcast somehow every week. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're talking about wrestling, music, horror movies, because those are the 3 topics. It's like, Chris Jericho would think, or Chris Jericho, and it's just one of those things where it's just rock and wrestling just go hand in hand at all times. And Jericho is
100%.
Yeah, and Jericho's like the king of that. And like, I'm a pro wrestler, but I was a musician first. And like, I was releasing music this past year on, iTunes and Spotify and all that stuff because I couldn't wrestle. So I was like, well, let me pick up the guitar again. And it just all comes back to, well, this is what I think Chris Jericho would think.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, I have a podcast called Top 5 with Joey Cassata, available on all platforms. And we literally we do a top 5 list every episode, different subjects, all different matters, doesn't matter what it is, pop culture. And of course, when we had Jericho on this week, we didn't do anything wrestling related. We did music. We did the top 5 hair metal albums you should own, but probably don't.
Nice.
And that's right up Chris's alley. He's, I've been on Talk is Jericho a couple of times with Talking Kiss and so on and so forth. So he's like the more successful version of me.
It's funny too, because we talk about hair metal a lot, and one of our future episodes that we didn't record yet was we're going to do a draft your own hair band. So it's basically like you make your own supergroup, but it can't be the same as anybody else's because we're going to run it like a fantasy football draft.
Of course.
And we have Mitch LaFon coming on to do it with us. And we're looking for 2 more people. And now I'm like, well, Joey's into this stuff.
Well, dude, you don't have to look any further. And I never pass up a chance to bust Mitch LaFon's balls. So please, I'm your man.
All right, let's do it. It'll be me, my co-host, you, and Mitch. And we'll do it within the next couple of weeks at least. And we'll each draft a hairband.
Perfect. I got plenty to choose from. Hopefully no one chooses my drummer. I already have my drummers in mind.
So with all that being said, and Chris Jericho aside, we talked about him for 10 minutes.
Do you have? It always takes up my time.
Yeah. Do you have any other projects that you're working on right now besides the wrestling with Joey Licious?
Again, I'm always working on a million things. I hate to promote too many things because then some things get lost in the shuffle. But more stuff with wrestling with Joey Licious. So when COVID hit, unfortunately, just like everyone else out there, you mentioned it with the wrestling scene. All production on everything stopped across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not the type of person that can just sit still and do nothing. So, my partner and I, we have the first season of Wrestling with Joey Licious completely scripted out already. 10 episodes, full length, ready to go. So instead of, we couldn't shop anymore to networks. We couldn't produce any more of our shorts because there was just no production available to anyone. No one was coming out of their house. So what we did was we pivoted and we took the first 5 episodes and we turned them into a novel, which is available on Amazon right now. It's the Wrestling with Joey Licious book. It's literally what the first 5 episodes of Wrestling with Joey Licious will be. It ends on a cliffhanger, and I'll give it away. Chris Jericho is on the cliffhanger. He is a big part of the book, And the second book is ready to go too. We're going to be releasing it probably in time for Christmas. And Chris's character he's basically like my Apollo Creed in Rocky.
Gotcha.
Chris kind of, not to give away the storyline, but this moron upstart Joey Licious from Brooklyn can't get it together and is thinking about quitting, and everyone's torturing him. But Chris Jericho comes along, wrestling champion, and he might offer Joey Licious a shot at the title.
That
And of
is
course,
excellent.
Joey Licious blows it like he always does. Every opportunity, all wrestlers come out of the woodwork, whether it's Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan, all these guys will come, give Joey Licious the wrong advice, and hilarity and mayhem ensue shortly after. But book one is available on Amazon. You'll see the shorts are great, but if you love the shorts and you want more wrestling with Joey Licious, the book is so much fun. It's a pure comedy, fictitious. So many wrestlers are in the book, from Jake, from Roddy, from Jimmy Snuka, from Chris Jericho. Hulk Hogan makes a big appearance in the book, which he's so great in. And the part two of the book, which is basically episodes 6 through 10 of the first season, will be available by Christmas.
While you were talking about that, my son walked over here with my Kindle and showed me that your book was on there. So we got it. We found it.
Amazing. Yeah, if you get a chance to, I'd love to get, again, your opinion. It goes way deeper into, the indie world. Our wrestling, fictitious wrestling league in the Joey Licious world is Brawl, Brooklyn's really awesome wrestling league. And, it's all the different characters in that league and all trying to make it into business and, getting, shot down by the promoters or screwed over by the promoters for their payday and setting up the ring and so on and so forth. It's a real look into indie wrestling, yet also into the old school 80s fun comedy wrestling.
Oh, I will absolutely check it out and let you know, man. And like I said, I've been doing this for close to 11 years now, and I've done the extra work for WWE and Impact, and I've wrestled through Canada and in a bunch of different states, and it's amazing just even sending your trailer around. I'm like, how great is this? Because you really captured a lot of it and just put such a spin on it. It's great.
Amazing, brother. And it's guys like you. Please, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for doing that. Keep sharing it. We're still looking for the right deal to get this show picked up by the right network with the right money behind it. We've had a couple on the table ready to sign on the dotted line, and they fall through, whether it was COVID or new president of the network or so on and so forth. We're still looking for the right deal. I even think something like Fight TV or Netflix or one of these streaming service would be the perfect outlet for wrestling with Joey Licious.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even Netflix has such great shows that are in that same vein, and it's like, why this would just fit right in. Why wouldn't they,
Agreed. Even the WWE Network. I know they don't do a lot of original content like this, but we're actually really still trying to get it to the right person over there. Our agents. It's a tough sell over at the WWE Network. So we're trying to walk in with the right person,
right,
to make sure we don't pitch it to the wrong ears. So if anyone out there is listening, check out Wrestling with Joey Licious on Amazon Prime and help us get a deal.
Well, with that being said, before I let you get out of here, plug all of your social media, websites, everything right now so that people know where to find you. They can follow you, keep up with books, music, Wrestling with Joey Licious, anything that you got going on. So just throw it all out there.
I'm across the board at Joey Cassata, JoeyCassata, across the board, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find the same thing on YouTube, Joey Cassata on YouTube. Everything we talked about today is on my YouTube channel, from all the ZO2 videos, full concerts of us touring with Kiss, the Mock Rock VH1 episode that I mentioned with my Kiss tribute band, to Joey Licious clips and trailers for the book, and clips of Chris Jericho on our show Z-Rock. I'm sure you've seen that episode with Chris on Z-Rock, which is absolutely hysterical episode. Chris and I get into a little scuffle, and it doesn't end well for Chris. But that clips of that are all on my YouTube channel. But again, you can check out Joey Licious, Wrestling with Joey Licious on Amazon Prime, the book and the shorts.
All right, man. Fantastic. And thank you so much again. It's crazy to me that me in 2004 meeting you and getting your autograph, now I'm having you on my show and setting up a future show. Like, it's mind-blowing to me.
Dude, amazing. Thank you so much for thinking of me having me on. Either way, I'm coming on to pick the ultimate hair metal band. I'll try to get that special guest we talked about. I'll see if he's into it, see if he's available. And he's a good friend of Mitch LaFon's too. He knows him, so maybe we can get everyone together.
That would be fantastic. And that one, we'll do the whole Skype thing so we could all, yell at each other and see each other's faces while we're taking each other's pics.
Great idea.
All right, man. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Awesome, dude. Thanks so much for having me.
So there you have it, rockers. That was Joey Cassata, ZO2 drummer, wrestling with Joey Licious, Z-Rock. Man, this guy is so busy, so talented. And like I said, my son already found the book on our Kindle, so I'm going to check that out. But man, thank you guys for listening. That was a lot of fun. And spoiler alert, we're doing the Ultimate Hairband draft in a few weeks, and Joey will be here. So we will let you guys know when that's dropping, and I will catch you next time on the All Bets Are Off podcast. But before I let you go, make sure you check out Death Comes Lifting at deathcomeslifting.com and join their Patreon page and become a member of the Lifting Dead Army. This is fitness for the misfits, one of the sponsors of this show that make it possible. And be sure to subscribe and rate the show and check out my Pro Wrestling Tee store at prowrestlingtees.com/RockstarRobbieVegas. We will catch you next time.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.